We're going to read the item in, and then
Okay.
the posture that you will be is back at the table with, I believe it was a motion to approve. And then you can discuss at that point and take a vote on that motion unless it's amended.
Tom, did you want to explain your vote?
Yeah, I will. Again, on the 9th of June, I voted in favor of this proposal and this option. I looked very carefully since that vote over the last 2 weeks, and I looked at Councilmember Knight's concerns about this. He indicated that it violated the City Code 7.5 and that the actions were detrimental to the health and safety of the residents. Councilmember Murray also talked about access to Howells Road needed to be connected, and he talked about that's why he wasn't voting in favor of it. I know Councilmember Avila stated that she was worried about the wildfire season, and it's always wildfire season. And quite frankly, I can't remember, Councilmember or President Scorman, what your concern was, but I'm sure it was about safety for the people there. We had long discussion about this. The fire marshal talked to us about this meeting standards, which Councilmember Pico mentioned earlier today. And when we had this vote earlier this morning, that was the reason I voted against this provision. After I did that, I went back and reviewed all of the documents that I had from work sessions. And I actually over the weekend drove out there and drove around that area and studied it. If you'll remember, we looked at Peter Wysocki showed us some early morning pictures, which I didn't think were that helpful because, number one, they were very early in the morning, and number two, the schools are not in session, which is a factor. I've had a chance to discuss some of this with the school district out there, and I am just reversing my opinion on this. I think this is in the best interest of the community. I know there's a fire danger. I know the egress and access issue is challenging. But after I voted on this, I've had a change of heart after reviewing the documents, and that's why I asked for reconsideration of this. I'm not surprised that anyone voted against me allowing to reconsider it. But I believe that this project should be approved and go forward. And that's why I changed my mind in the last several hours. So I'll answer any questions anybody has about why I've done that. When I learned about reconsideration from Keith King, that is a process that we have that we can use. And I remembered, that I could at least try that. So that's my explanation.
Okay. I have a hand from Bill and one from Don. Bill, go ahead.
Councilman Strand, because this was quasi-judicial, did you have any ex parte conversations with anyone between your last vote and your current request?
I did have some conversations, but they had no factor in my changing my vote on this.
Okay, well, but that's not, I think that's only part of the question. Who did you have the conversations with, and what was the nature of those conversations? If they pertain to this issue, we should all know them.
Okay. I talked both with Peter Wysocki about this. He just wondered why I changed my mind. And at that point, I had already decided that I would change my mind, but he reached out to me and contacted me. I also had a very short, abbreviated conversation with the Chief of Staff, Mr. Green. Nobody, put any pressure on me. They just asked, why I had changed from the 9th of June until now.
Did any member talk about the developer themselves?
Negative.
I'm disappointed. Thank you.
I'm not surprised you're disappointed, but that's my answers.
Okay. Don?
Early on in my time on council, the there was a USAFA issue that I voted on one way, and and then all that was left was the second reading of the ordinance.
Right.
And I voted on it a second way, and I publicly announced that I changed my vote because I had been at a social event and had talked to a member of the USAFA staff, and therefore that raised it. Wynetta, who was our council at the time, took me out behind the woodshed on that and said that was not allowed. I think just you're alone talking to District 11 about this. As we were briefed, it's okay to go out and visit the property. Don't take any council members. That you had discussions about it is opening the door for a 106 complaint on this. I think the only right thing and best thing for the city, because of these conversations that you've had with District 11 and with both Peter and Jeff, just respect, it's your call, but I would just respectfully ask, instead of voting in the affirmative, you need to now recuse yourself, because I think you've put the city into a position that is just going to really delay this out.
Okay, I mean, I respect your opinion on that. This whole thing to me was about safety of the community and access, both during any kind of emergency or wildfire situation. And because of my relationship with the school systems for 5 years before I came on city council, I was sensitive to school participation. And my conversations with them really was just to know how many people came to the school and what parking was like and what traffic was like and what their concerns were. And, that happened over the weekend, and it happened, not with any of the representatives from the school, but one of the teachers that happened to be out there. So I am not going to recuse myself on this vote.